All right. How'd it go? You okay? Decent? All right, come by, mark you off. Questions can I help you with on 5-4? What can we help you with on 5-4? Yeah.
Can we do number 3?
3? All right, number 3. Number 3 says the company manages. Excuse me. The company manages an apartment building with 50 units. Data has shown that if the rent for each unit is $360 per month, all the units will be filled. Okay, so at $360, all 50 are full. Okay, so I'm just kind of writing some notes down whether we need it or not. Okay, so we can figure out how much they would make at that point. However, one unit became vacant for every $10 increase. Okay, so as each unit becomes vacant, so 50, we had 50 total, 1 minus each unit, for every $10 increase. So they say that it was $360 per month. Could you imagine a $360 rent? That'd be awesome. If I increased $10. Okay. What rent should be charged to maximize the total revenue if the upper limit on rent is $450? So we can't go over $450. Okay, so that's all kind of information. So let's do some of the math there. I got my calculator right here. I was just be faster for me to do it in hand. All right, so will someone do me a favor on your phones or whatever? Will someone multiply 360 times 50 for me, please? 18,000 exactly?
Yeah.
Okay. So right now, the apartment's bringing in 18,000. But they feel that they've done a study that you'll lose a resident every time you increase the amount that the insurance is, or the rent is, increased by $10. Okay, so it goes from 360 to 370 to 380 to 390, so on and so forth. Okay, by doing that, they actually might be able to get better than that. So let's take a look at, oh, actually, I have my graphing calculator here. I'll use my graphing calculator because I have it already loaded, I believe. Yep. All right, so y equals, let's clear that out. No stat plots on. So we did 50 minus 1x. And then we did 360 plus 10x, I believe was what I had just done. And the hard thing about the graphing calculator, unless you know some of the commands, we can use Desmos obviously. If I do a zoom fit, which is zoom 0, that's going to give us a good amount of information. Once I have that, then I can zoom out a little bit. Okay, so this is our network. Obviously, we're not dealing with the left side of the y-axis because, I'm not going to do that. So right here, this should give us our optimal thing. But remember, we cannot charge above $450. Okay, so on the graphing calculator, if I go second calculate, I want to find a maximum because I'm finding the highest point. So I'm going to go to the left side of it, and I'm going to go to the right side of it. So it looks like if we had 7 units not occupied, so 7 times 10 is 70, so that means that our 360 plus 70 is 430. If we charged $430 a month, and that's less than the $450 that they said, we would then bring in $18,490 in revenue. Okay, so is it worth them to charge more? I mean, here's the thing that kind of stinks. But also, you realize a company gets into business to make the maximum amount of money. So with $10 a month, doesn't really sound like that much of a hardship, but if you had somebody who is a low hourly wage employee, $10 a month could mean, oh my gosh. I mean, there's a lot of people nationwide that live paycheck to paycheck, meaning they spend what they make every month. There's no savings that takes place, which, I mean, it's the reality. That's a reality I hope that none of you ever have to live with, but I know some of you might, your families might be living within that right now. I'm not trying to be critical of it, but the hard thing is it would stink if you had to move from an apartment complex if you had lived there for a certain amount of time and all of a sudden they increased the rent. Now, $10 a month doesn't sound like much, but my first apartment, when I was a first-year teacher, I can't remember what my rent was. It was under $1,000 a month. I know that. And the apartment was great. I loved it. It was a large one-bedroom apartment, but it easily could have been a two-bedroom and still had a living room because my living room was like enormous. And I remember after the first year, I was like, oh, this is great. And I thought, I'm going to re-up my lease. Well, they increased it like $50 a month. And so I had to make a decision. Do I still want to stay in this apartment complex or do I want to move on? And they were showing that the market was handle charging more per month, even if they were going to lose people who had stayed there. But I chose to stay there second year. The third year, a buddy of mine bought a house, and he said, hey, you want to move in with me? And I said, well, how much are you going to charge me? And he was charging like $300 less a month than what I was paying. And I'm like, okay. So those are just some realities, but that's definitely how you do that problem. Does that help you? What other questions did we come across that I could help you with? Yeah. 7. Number 7 says the large corporation with monopolistic control of the marketplace has average daily cost given by cost equals 800 divided by x plus 100x plus x squared. The daily demand for a product is given by 60,000 minus 50x. Find the quantity that gives maximum profit and find the maximum profit. What selling price should the corporation set for its product? Okay. All right, so we have a cost, we have the product. Okay, so what I would do on this is I'm going to go ahead and graph this. So I'm going to take the 800 divided by x. It's going to work for me. I think that'll work. And then plus 100 x plus x squared, close parentheses. I think that should work. And then I'm going to subtract my 60,000 minus 50x. And if I do a zoom fit, so zoom 0, it's giving us that. Do I have that? I'm curious if I have that plotted right. Let me go to Desmos. I don't trust the graphing calculator. All right, Desmos. Yes. Just trying to think, is that going to be right? Do I want to subtract that? The demand for the product is that. Oh, you know what? I goofed up. So it should be this. Y equals 800 divided by X plus 100X plus X squared. And then I'm just going to graph the other equation as well. 60,000 minus 50X. I think this is how I have to do it. I have to go find this. There's one of them. There's the other one. Oh my gosh, we're way up yonder. All right. So I'm going to zoom in on that. I think that's going to be the right spot. It can't be the intersection. Let's go back to the calculator. Second, insert parenthesis. Second, insert parenthesis. Zoom 0. Go to, where's my? Oh, I see. All right, let's delete that. Let's go here. Second, insert parenthesis. That should work. Zoom 0. I just want to see what? Come on. Delete that. Zoom 0. Zoom out. Yeah, I just didn't realize that. I was trying just to. No. Maximum profit. Kind of losing something. Let me double check that. I need to double check that with one of my colleagues because I'm sorry, I'm kind of at a loss right now. I'll get back to you on number 7. So I'm going to double check this. I'll get back to you tomorrow on that one. I apologize. Any others? Good. All right. I want to look. I'm on the 5-1 to 5-4 practice quiz. And I want to go through some of the problems, see how we do. So I'll start with number 1. And some of these would go along with the quiz that is on Schoology. So we have this. We have f prime is this. So the derivative has already taken place. Agreed? All right. So if we do our f prime chart, I have a critical value. I go 2x squared equals 0. So x equals 0. So this is a double root at 0. Okay, now that's a double root. And then I'm going to go x minus 4 equals 0. So x equals 4. So that's a critical value. And x equals negative 3. That's another critical value. Okay, and then we want to figure out positives and negatives. Okay, so if I picked a value way out here, so I picked, say, negative 10 and I squared it, that's positive here, that's negative here, that's negative here. So positive times negative is positive. So to the left of negative 3 is going to be positive, so it shows increasing slope. If I picked a value like 1, or negative 1, excuse me, I get positive, negative, positive. So positive, negative, positive multiplied together should be a negative. So the region between negative 3 and 0 is going to be negative. And then if I picked a value like 1 to the right of this, that gives me positive, that gives me negative, that gives me positive. So positive times positive is going to be negative. And then if I pick the value like out to the right of 4, so say 10, that would give me a positive number. That gives me positive, that gives me positive. If I multiply 3 positives together, I get positive. Okay, so because this was a squared quantity, this would have created in the algebra world something called a bounce, and that's what's taking place there. So if we want to show where this is increasing, it's increasing let's see, I have a positive slope. I have a positive slope and then a negative slope from this. So it's increasing from negative infinity to negative 3. Negative doesn't show that, and that shows it's decreasing. So negative to positive. So it's then decreasing from negative 3 all the way to 4. And then, so increasing, decreasing from negative 3 to 4. So basically, my graph would show it's doing this, then it's doing this, then it's doing another negative here, and then it's doing a positive there. So then it's increasing from 4 to infinity. So that takes care of number 1. Okay. So that's kind of helpful knowledge. This F prime chart basically shows the shape that we're dealing with. So we're dealing with something that looks like this in some sense. Okay, where we have critical values at the negative 3 and the 4. The 0 is a point of inflection that's taking place right here. Okay, so that should help you as you go along. That should help you with 3. But let's look at problem number 2. Problem number 2 says the agency charges $400 per person for a trip of $70 for each person in the group. Above 70, the price per person will be reduced by $5. How many people will maximize the total revenue if the agency trip is limited at 90 people? So we can have a total of 90. We can have 90 people total on this trip. So they're going to charge $400 for the trip. And then we have 70 people that are engaged in this trip. If we reduce the price by an agent charges $400 per trip for a group of 70. For each person in the group above 70, we will decrease the price of the trip by 5. So this will help you on number 2. Keep in mind, though, you can't go above that 90. And then, let's see. Give me the graph. Number 4, you can skip because I don't have a graph there. Number 5, you should be able to take care of that. And then number 6, what that's going to look like. They gave us an F prime chart. And we have -4, 0, 3, and 5. And we know that here is negative, then it's positive, positive, negative, positive. So we go from decreasing to increasing to increasing to decreasing to increasing. So what should this graph somewhat look like? So at -4, something's taking place. At 0, something's taking place. At 3, something's taking place. And at 5, something's taking place. So this kind of graph could look like this. Could look something like that. This is a point of inflection. So that should help you. And then I think the rest of it you can do. Okay, so get the 5-1 to 5-4 practice quiz. And I'll check that out tomorrow. And I can go back to any of those if you didn't write them down. And then a reminder that we have something on Schoology, and I believe it's 4 questions. Cool? Good? Happy?